Welcome, flip clock fans. Today we're going to look at a GE flip clock that you don't see that much, a GE 8131-4A. It is what people call a rolling wheel type clock, and we'll see it function right here. And there it is. So the clock is very similar to one that's very common on eBay, and this is that clock. It's essentially the same clock. This is a 8142-4, and the difference is just the color and these wings on the end, these legs. They're very unique. Now, my model number is missing. But this from the internet, we'll see it as 8131-4A, 120 volts, 60 hertz, 2.5 watts. Okay, right there, that's the thing you'd pull out for the alarm. There's the 4 screws we're going to take out here to disassemble. The 2 little black wheels you see there, the one on the left, of course, is for the alarm, and one on the right is for the digits. Pretty straightforward clock. Not much really out of the ordinary there, but the disassembly is really kind of different and could potentially damage your clock. So we're going to go through that to try to help anyone who wants to disassemble that. Now you see there, this is kind of interesting. On the one there, it has Singapore tilted to the side written there. Usually you see Japan. This one was made in Singapore, obviously. Now usually I use a butter knife to open clocks and do things, but today we're going to use a Spyderco, just to be fancy. But what I'm looking for is a blade that has a thin profile here. If you look right there, there is an indentation there, and then on the bottom there's one on the left and on the right. And what I'm going to have to do is pry that up, and I want to get in there, and you want to be very careful not to damage that golden thing on the underside there. So you see I just pried it up. Now these GE plastics, they were better than some of the Panasonics as far as stuff like that. So I didn't worry about that too much. Now look at these tabs here for reassembly. You may notice that there's a bevel on the side that was facing the clock. That'll become very apparent as to why that's put there later when we reassemble. So we look at this fancy gold paint job here, and we see that it flops right out. It's actually on paper, but it looks good, and we definitely don't want to scratch that. Now this black bevel here, whatever you want to call it, I turned it upside down for a reason. It makes it a little easier to get out, because what you'll see is where those screws screw into the clock, there's a gap right there on the front only, and that's where the tabs there would fit in. So the screws would go through the tabs and into the metal and secure that in place. That's our sleep button to sleep when I set it for 10 minutes to snooze. I should say a snooze button. Now to get that out, you kind of push that alarm button in. You can push the cord in, but it just pulls straight out. At first it may not feel like it does, but it will come right out. Now to get that cord out, you'd have to cut the cord or desolder it from the clock, but you know, if you're going to wash that, if you just pull that straight through, you got plenty of room to wash that and keep it away from the clock mechanism here. So when you get a closer look at these, what people call a rolling wheel, it's not like a cyclometer where they have these big giant wheels. And unlike a flip clock, you can flip it forward and back like I was doing there just a minute ago. But if you look at this, it looks like a Ferris wheel situation in there. And you see there is some flipping going on in the back of the clock, which is funny because on the front it doesn't look like there's any flipping at all. And here we are in the back side of the clock flipping around. And there's a reason for that, because we've got on the minutes, you have 9 or 10 different digits, 0 through 9. But if you watch here, you'll see that they flip, and each side of the tile on the minutes has a number. Now if you look right in there, there's a wheel, there's a gear, and that gear is powered by the motor, and it actually directly turns that minute wheel. That transmits the motion is transmitted to that black gear on the left, you see. So the gears on the left actually control the minute and then the hour. But the motor directly turns the minutes only. And like I said, you can see there it is moving the tens of minutes. But anyway, it's fun to look through that and kind of watch how that works. Now the downside, there's before we go into the downside, there's the light that does the clock. The downside is there is no AM and PM. So I've powered on the clock. And there's some things that's important to know. If you look right here, those 2 points right there, that's 110, 120 volts. That could kill you. So these clocks are dangerous. Now there's a motor there. It's called a Telechron. Not to be confused with the name of the clock mechanism, which is a Chronotel. That's a GE trademark. But the Telechron is also a GE motor. It's in an electromagnetic field. It's sealed. There's oil in there. And they last for a long time, evidently. Now Panasonic makes one that's not so durable, but we're not here to talk about Panasonic. Anyway, you see here there's a leaf spring type thing that holds that button up. And that button will drop out if you pull the leaf spring out. We will de-energize here so I don't get killed on camera. But there you see, it's just a leaf spring. Now that's a ferrous material. In other words, it will rust. So I took mine out and actually coated it with some oil from just that it did have a rust spot on it, but not bad. I don't think you don't need to oil it for any kind of lubrication purposes, except for rust prevention, I think. So you see here, you got to make sure the alarm pull thing, it's got to go through the hole. And just a matter of working it in there, pulling your cord through. It's not that hard to reassemble here. But you want to look at the screws that you took out earlier. There's two longish ones and two shorter ones. Of course, the longer ones are going to need to go in the front to accommodate that gap. Now, to reassemble, I like to turn it upside down. It just makes sure those the places where the screws go in that stay gapped, so you can just push that right in. Makes it a little easier. So we'll magically put the screws back. There they go. Magic of YouTube. And we got to get our little golden stripe. Drop it right in. And now here, this is where we're going to show you about the bevel. Now, for a lot of you, it's probably pretty obvious what's going to happen. And when I first reassembled it, I used my knife again and pried that top up. But I see for assembly purposes, just pop it right in. Would have made it really easier to reassemble or to assemble the clocks initially. And so that's it. GE 8131-4A.
When you get the time, come visit us at flipclockfans.com.